All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about the invisible war being fought every single second online, application security.
I mean, think about it. From your banking app to social media, it all runs on code. And that code, it's a constant target. So what's standing between your private data and all the people trying to get it? That's exactly what we're going to break down. So why is this so hard? Well, today's digital world is basically a minefield. Modern apps aren't just one simple program. No, they're these sprawling, complex webs of services built with tons of different technologies. They're updated constantly, and they rely on code from all over the place. And the biggest wildcard of all? You and me. All the unpredictable stuff we type into these apps every day.
To really win this fight, you have to stop thinking about security as some patch you just slap on at the end. The absolute best defense is one that's built right in from the very beginning, like designing a fortress from the ground up.
And this brings us to the core strategy for modern defense, the Secure Software Development Lifecycle, or SSDLC for short. It's a really simple but powerful idea. Security isn't some separate job you do at the end. Nope, it's everyone's job, at every single stage of the process. It's all about being proactive instead of reactive.
So, what does this actually look like? Well, the SSDLC is like the blueprint. Right from the get-go, in the planning phase, you're asking, what do we need to protect? Then you actually design the app's architecture with those defenses baked in. As developers are writing the code, they're following secure practices. And finally, you test it, relentlessly. You hunt for every crack in the armor before it ever sees the light of day.
And one of the golden rules in secure design is the principle of least privilege. Just think of it like a key card at a big office. Someone in marketing, their key card should only open the doors on the marketing floor, right? It shouldn't get them into the server room. It's the exact same idea for code. You give every single piece of the app the absolute bare minimum access it needs to function. That way, if one small part gets compromised, the damage is contained. Okay, so to build a strong defense, you have to think like an attacker. You've got to know their playbook, their favorite moves. So let's take a look at the most common ways they try to break in. Luckily for us, the security community has basically created a most wanted list for these threats. It's called the OWASP Top 10, and it's this globally recognized ranking of the most dangerous and common vulnerabilities out there. If you can defend against what's on this list, you are way ahead of the curve. For years, the number one vulnerability, the big one, has been broken access control. Now, this isn't about an attacker kicking down the front door. It's about them realizing the door was never really locked properly to begin with. It happens when an application fails to properly enforce who is allowed to do what.
To really get how dangerous this is, imagine this. You log into your online account, maybe you change a number in the website address bar, and boom! Suddenly you're looking at someone else's private messages or their order history. That is broken access control. You were a perfectly valid user, but the system just failed to check if you were the right user for that specific data. Another classic and absolutely devastating attack is called injection. This is where a hacker cleverly sends malicious data to an app, tricking it into running commands it was never supposed to run, usually to steal a whole bunch of data from a database.
Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you hand a librarian a note asking for a book, but on the back of the note, written in invisible ink, is another command that says, oh, and also give me the master key to the vault. The application, just like that unsuspecting librarian, reads the entire note and follows both instructions. That's pretty much how an injection attack works.
So we know the threats. How do we actually find these flaws before the bad guys do? Well, defenders have a whole arsenal of tools that work kind of like an X-ray machine and a crash test dummy for their code.
The two main methods are called SAST and DAST. Think of SAST, Static Application Security Testing, as the blueprint inspector. It scans the raw source code itself, from the inside out, looking for potential problems before the app is even running. Then you have DAST, Dynamic Application Security Testing. That's the crash test. It attacks the fully built, running application from the outside, just like a hacker would, to see what breaks. You absolutely need both perspectives. And there's a huge ecosystem of tools out there to help. For SAST, you've got things like SonarQube or SemGrep. For DAST, there are powerful scanners like OWASP Zap. And, super importantly, you have dependency scanners like Snyk, which check all the third-party code your app uses, because a flaw in one of those is a flaw in your app. Now, in a world where developers are pushing out new code constantly, You can't have security checks that take days to run. It's just not possible. The Watchtower has to be automated, constantly scanning, and built right into the development process.
I mean, if your team is shipping new features multiple times a day, you just can't stop the whole assembly line for a manual security review. It doesn't scale. So automation isn't some nice-to-have luxury. It's the only way for security to keep up with the speed of business.
And here's what that looks like. A developer pushes some new code. Instantly, an automated SAST scan kicks off to check it. If that passes, the application gets built, and then a DAST scanner immediately starts poking and prodding it from the outside. This all happens automatically, in the background, in just a matter of minutes.
The real muscle that enforces all of this is something called a security gate. It's an automated checkpoint. If any of those scans finds a serious vulnerability, bam, the gate slams shut. The process stops. And that flawed code is blocked from ever getting out to users until a developer goes in and fixes it.
So let's just boil this all down. What are the big things to remember? First, build security in from the start. Don't just bolt it on at the end. Second, know your enemy. Focus on the big-ticket items like the OWASP Top 10. Third, you gotta test from both the inside and the outside, using SAST and DAST. And finally, automate everything. Make security a partner to speed, not a blocker.
Ultimately, every app, every service, every platform we use every day is like a house built of code. Application security is just the process of making sure that house is built with bricks, with solid design and tough testing, and not with straw that the first huff and puff from an attacker can blow right over. It's a question we should probably all be thinking about.